Hi, I'm Pat here at Hypno Comics with A Slice of Sci-Fi presents It's Comic Book Day. Today we have Ken Kristensen. How are you?
Hey, Pat.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Are you excited about the new book release?
Todd, the Ugliest Kid on Earth. I am very excited about it. Todd is everywhere now.
This is the cover of Ken's new book, and we actually have a prototype toy.
Yeah, we got Todd the action figure here, and yeah, I'm super excited about it. This is you know, a whole new world for me, but I think the book's turning out well, and people seem to be responding to it. So that's all I could ask.
It's getting a very big boom as its first drop.
Yep.
I've noticed a lot of Image comics have been on their #1s. They've been picking up very well. Why'd you choose Image?
You know, our decision to go with Image was based on a couple things. We obviously love their creative freedom. You know, this is one of the few publishers that really embraces new, unique concepts and allows you to execute them, you know, as you want to, pretty much. There's not, you know, a lot of editorial oversight, and I also think that Image readers are probably the most open readers today, where you can, you know, if you're Image, you can put out a book that's an absurdist crime comedy, or you can put out a book that's, you know, a supernatural thriller, horror story, or, you know, superhero. So there's a lot of latitude that you can have when you're doing an Image book, and still have it be successful because their audience has such a broad palette.
Awesome, awesome. Now, how long did it take you to come up with the idea of Todd and put it on paper?
The idea came to us relatively quickly. MK Perker and I are partners on the book. MK does the art, I write the script, but we create the story together and you know, outline the story in advance, and it came to us relatively quickly. We had a couple kind of seminal moments in the development of the character that made it click, and so within a couple of weeks, really, we had our initial idea, and MK started sketching, and we eventually, you know, had a pitch packet that was worthy enough to send out. And then in terms of its, you know, journey, the execution of it, because MK was simultaneously working on Air, which is his creator-owned book for Vertigo, on a monthly basis. You know, Todd, he was kind of doing on the side, and so it did take you know, a while for us to get enough pages executed where we felt like, all right, let's put a start date on this, you know, January 16th, 2013, which was Image's decision, but at that point it was clear that we had enough art where we could make our deadlines, and obviously we want to deliver on time, so
of course
that you know, it did take a while, but I think, you know, to our benefit, it's almost like this is the perfect time to have a book come out from Image. So
I honestly couldn't agree more. I feel like Image is doing very well for itself right now, and then in January you have more of an opportunity. You don't have to fight up against a lot of the other bigger books, so you get more time to shine. Where did the idea of Todd the Ugliest Kid come from? Like, what was your
the genesis,
process of?
Yeah, the genesis of this crazy world of Todd really started with two things. One, we developed a crime comic, and we'd pitched it around. It was called Promised Murders, and we'd pitched Promised Murders to a few places, one of them being Image. And at the time, I think hard-boiled crime stuff, you know, this is a few years ago, was, you know, if you were Ed Brubaker, you were doing well with it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, if you were new creator, and this is also pre-Air, so it was before MK, you know, had a big name and reputation, and So, we wanted to do a 180 from Hard Boiled and do something absolutely crazy. Still have a crime foundation to it, but we decided let's go into the absurdist realm with this. And around the same time, I was in film school and I was working for Todd Solondz, the writer-director, and I knew that MK was a big fan of Todd's, so I invited him to come to the set to meet Todd, and he did. And we talked about comics with Todd, and Todd was really into continues to be really into comics, action figures, and loved MK's art, and then we went back to New York because we were shooting outside of New York City. We went back to New York City where we lived, and MK was inspired to just sketch this character. And he showed it to me and he said, "Look, Todd the Ugliest Kid on Earth." We had no story, we had no personality to this character, but we were so drawn to that, cute little kid with the paper bag on his head. We thought, we gotta, it's too special looking to, just throw it away. Let's really try to develop something around it. Mm-hmm. And so we pulled from all of our, we're huge crime fans, so we pulled from all of our crime influences and came up with this world and this character. And at the same time, my nephew came to New York to visit me, and he was this, naive little kid, 4-year-old kid, and when MK and I would hang out with him in New York City, the kid would see things that were totally terrible, ugly New York City scenes, like the real moment where it clicked to me that, oh, this kid should be the inspiration for Todd is like, I had my nephew on my shoulders and we're walking through Times Square, and there was a homeless man on the curb covered in blood, but I didn't see it, but I heard my nephew say, "Look, that man spilled cranberry juice all over himself." And I looked down, and there was this horrific scene, but there was a bottle of cranberry juice like 5 feet away from him, and the kid put the empty cranberry juice bottle together with the image of the man with blood all over him. And I thought, that's Todd. Todd sees all the ugliness in his world from a different perspective. And so that blind obsession that Todd has is kind of the core of the comedy in this book.
Which he definitely does. I've read it myself, and I did enjoy it very much so. I felt pretty bad for him throughout most of the issue, but I feel like that's kind of where we're going to go with it, in the sense of, like, someone who's different is obviously going to be treated different. So, yeah.
Well, especially in this world. I mean, this is an absurdist, satire where we turned everything up to 11, in terms of the characters in this piece. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to play with the idea that the ugliest kid on earth is actually the most beautiful kid on earth, and it's the world around him that's ugly. And that allows us to make fun of the things in our own world, that we want to satirize. So, we're satirizing everything from religion to politics to family relations to the prison industrial complex to, there's just nothing that we're stopping at. We take a lot of shots at celebrity and celebrityism and, at the education system. It's just, we're just, beating the hell out of everything we can. So
nice. So you said you worked for Todd for a while with movies.
Yeah.
So, one, how was that? And two, what inspired you to write for comic books?
Well, I was one of those rare people who decided to go to film school to get into comics. So I was a journalist before I went to grad school, and at a certain point I said, I got to try to get back into comics. Because when I had first come out of college, mm-hmm. I moved to New York with the intention of getting into comics. I sent letters to, a huge number of editors at Marvel in DC. And an editor from DC called me up. And, I was 22, and he called me up and he said, "You're crazy. This is the worst time to get into comics. Don't even try it. you know, do yourself a favor and get a real job, go in a real business. And stupidly, you know, I took his advice, and you know, he discouraged the hell out of me. So I wanted to write comics, but if I can't do that because this big shot at this major publishing company is telling me it's impossible, who knows better than him? And I ended up getting into travel writing, so I became a journalist, magazine journalist. But at a certain point, you know, I was sick of that, but I didn't realize I was sick of it. But I was reading a comic book on a beach in Greece where I was supposed to be writing an article about this honeymoon resort there. I was a single guy writing honeymoon reviews.
Makes sense, right? Yeah.
And I'm surrounded by these amorous couples, you know, on the beach making out, and I'm sitting there reading Y: The Last Man, you know, which at the time was a new book.
Yeah.
And I was loving this book, and I did some research, and I found out that Brian K. Vaughan had gone to film school, and that his film school experience was somehow directly responsible for him getting into comics.
Interesting.
So I said, I'm going to do that. I said, I'm going to go to film school and see if it happens for me. And sure enough, within 3 months of going to film school in New York, I met M.K. Perker. And we partnered up and started doing comics together. So anyway, so that's. But obviously, also I was working on films, you know, during film school, and that Todd Solondz film that I did was, you know, a summer job basically between semesters. Yeah. It's
very cool. It's very interesting to think about it like that. That you went to the film school and then went to comics after that, opposing to just like. Makes sense though, the journalism and stuff.
And then what the other crazy thing that happened was MK and I went to our first or second convention together, and we pitched a story. Well, we were pitching our own book to Dark Horse, and Diana Schutz, the editor there, you know, loved our work, and she said, you know, this book isn't right for us right now, but we'd love you to do an escapist story. So the Amazing Adventures of the Escapist, you know, Michael Chabon's book. And I'm a huge Chabon fan, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. So we pitched her a story, and she gave it to Michael, and Michael loved it. And so we started working on that. And then they put a lunch together where it was MK and I and Michael Chabon and Brian K. Vaughan. So it was this weird, you know, circle where I'm sitting across from, you know, the guy who really inspired me to change careers and go after comics in a big way. So
how was that working with all four of them?
Well, working with Michael and Diana Schutz and MK, it was like the four of us working on one story, and then you know, Brian K. Vaughan was doing another story, completely separate piece. So. But it was great, and it has yet to be published, but they tell me that it's coming someday. Someday, I don't know what the decision is.
It's over there.
Everything's done for the book, and Brian Boland did the cover, and it's beautiful. So one day, hopefully soon, we'll see that. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. As a creator of your own book, like, with the freedom and what with what you can do, what are some of the benefits to that?
Being a
creator of your own book with MK, like, it's just you guys, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have all the freedom.
We do. We have all the freedom, and you know, it's very liberating. I mean, you're working with, in my case, working with my best friend, you know, my brother from another mother, really, and we're on the same wavelength with almost everything. So, you know, he's the most creative guy I've ever met in my life, and he's constantly pitching ideas and, you know, coming up with characters and story, and you know, he trusts me to take the kinds of things that we brainstorm and go away and write a script and come back, and at the same time, you know, he's a genius, artistic genius. I give him a script, and when he delivers pages, again, with his complete freedom, he delivers these pages, that take the script, you know, way beyond what it was on paper. So, you know, it's great. I mean, it's a dream job, and if we can continue Todd, you know, for a long time, we, you know, that would be our that would be a dream come true for both of us, to be able to have a book that that we can work on together forever. So,
which, like I said, it's booming already, and it'd be nice to keep seeing it coming. My big question here is, will we ever see Todd's face?
Todd's face, no one knows what it looks like. One of the most interesting things about the last, you know, few weeks since the book's come out is hearing people's opinions about Todd's face. So, you know, I'll interact with people on Facebook who have, you know, an opinion. Todd is a disfigured kid, and they have made up this backstory for him, you know, but we always wanted it to be ambiguous because we wanted people to have opinions. So,
yeah.
Is he ugly? Is he not ugly? Some people read the book and they're convinced, like, he's really ugly. Some people read the book and they say, oh, there's probably a normal looking kid under there, but his parents are so sadistic they make him wear a bag on his head because they're so ugly, you know. So that's the fun of it. Will we ever see Todd's face? You know, I like to say that if we do, it'll be the last time you see Todd. You know, that I think would just ruin the mystery, and so yeah, we're gonna keep that bag on tight.
So I saw that Danny Trejo did a what would you call that?
Cover blurb.
A cover blurb. How was that? How did you get in contact with Danny Trejo?
Well, so, you know, MK and I are huge crime fans, as I said, and so the films and the novels of Eddie Bunker are films and novels that we love. So, you know, we were coming up with the storyline in issue 2 where Todd goes to prison, and we decided, you know, wouldn't it be great to have Eddie Bunker, the real Eddie Bunker, be a character in the book, because the real Eddie Bunker was in prison for many years. Wouldn't it be great to have Eddie Bunker be Todd's only friend in prison? So the real Eddie Bunker was in Folsom for a long time, and when he was in Folsom, his kind of, you know, he took a kid under his wing in prison, and that kid was Danny Trejo. So we knew that backstory, but, you know, we weren't thinking about putting Danny Trejo in the book at all. It was just like, let's, you know, explore Eddie Bunker as a character within our narrative. And we were at Comic-Con, and we were at a party, and we saw Danny Trejo standing in the party against the wall, and we looked at each other and we said, we've got to go tell him that we're putting, you know, his mentor, Eddie Bunker, in our book. So we went over to Danny, and Danny can be a very intimidating guy, right, to approach. And we approached him, and we hoped he wouldn't be offended that we were putting his mentor, you know, in a comic. And he was really receptive, you know. He asked us to tell him what the comic was about. We started pitching it to him. He started laughing. He thought it sounded hilarious. And he said, when you're done with the book, give me an advanced copy, and if I like it, you know, maybe I'll write an introduction. So that's how that came about, and he wrote this introduction, which appears in issue 2, and it's a really heartfelt introduction about what it's like to be a victim of the ugliness of the world, right? So he you know, speaking, I think, from personal experience, he's talking about your attitude you have to have when, as he puts it, you're surrounded by wolves. And, you know, and I loved his introduction. I think it really resonates with Todd and the characters in the book. So I'm excited for issue 2 to come out and for people to read his intro. And, you know, I think he gave an insight into Todd the Ugliest Kid on Earth that nobody else had. So
yeah, definitely. Right when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, that's super awesome. Like that Danny Trejo would be just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, he is the greatest guy. You know, he's like, you look at him and you think, oh my God, this guy's such a badass, you know, machete.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
He's going to kill me. But the sweetest guy, when I gave him the book, it was around Christmas time, and he's out, you know, handing out toys just out of the back of his car, you know, to kids on the, you know, impoverished kids on the street. And he's just one of those guys who believes, I think, in karma and, you know, giving back. I think his experience in life has been, you give what you get. So,
makes sense
yeah,
with his
so
life.
he's a sweetheart. Don't be afraid to approach him at a party.
To be honest, I think if I saw him, I would be like starstruck in the sense, because I know he's not that big of a star, but at the same time, he's made such like good cameos, but that he's so like imitating. You know, he's like,
he's an icon.
Yeah,
he really is.
Tell me a little more about the inspiration for the cover.
You know, we wanted the cover to show the range of the book, basically to say, like, this is a book where anything can happen. We also wanted it to be clear this is not a book for kids, and if you just saw the character, you might think, oh, it's a kiddie book. So we wanted to make it clear, you know, this is definitely a book for, you know, teen plus is what it's rated, and you know, there's sex and there's violence and there's adult themes in it. Anyway, so that was kind of the thing. It's like, here's a book where anything can happen. Don't be fooled by the cute protagonist. This is, you know, an edgy, you know, crime book. We also wanted to make it clear that, you know, this isn't, this is a mixture of genres. It's a comedy, but it's also a crime book. So that was kind of the impetus for the cover. And then story-wise, you know, for those of you who, spoiler alert, for those of you who haven't read it, Todd gets in trouble with the law. I'll just leave it at that.
I was going to ask also, with the first issue out and how we were talking about the killer that's in there, does he run into a lot of that? He runs into a lot of different killers, different things? Does he stay in jail a lot?
He runs into a lot of bad guys, and he does spend time in jail. And as you're probably aware firsthand, there are a lot of prison gangs. Todd runs into a lot of prison gangs, and you know, when you're new in jail, you're often a victim. And the way Todd gets out of his most hairy situations, you know, is pure Todd. You know, he's looking at the terrible things that go on behind bars, but in his mind, he's interpreting it the way he interprets life, which, you know, when he sees a terrible thing, he thinks, you know, it's a good thing. So he walks into some, as Danny Trejo says in the intro, he walks into the middle of a pack of wolves and has to, you know, figure his way out.
Very much so. We also have this one, which is yeah,
I'll explain this. This is a holiday promotion that we did right around Christmas and New Year's, and, you know, again, we wanted to let the audience know this is not a kid's book. This anything could happen. So narratively, you know, you can see some characters that appear in the series, and also with the stripper and the stripper pole, we wanted to give a sense of what this is Todd's father and Todd's mother, and we wanted to give a sense of what Todd's father's goal in life is, which you find out later on in the series. And then also, you know, to put a biblical quote on the image, you know, as a holiday card, also to try to, you know, just send the message that it's the least politically correct book out there, and, you know, anything goes. You know, our mantra has kind of been, we'll do anything if it works for the characters and the story and it's funny. And if you're, you know, if you're easily offended, you may not enjoy the book, but if you enjoy tickling taboos, you know, this is the book for you. So
nice, nice. And this will be cover.
This is so. This image is the cover to issue number 4.
Nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Which, I mean, issue number 1 already has a strong cover, so issue number 4 having this cover says a lot.
I think MK, is one of the best cover artists out there. If you remember, the covers for Air, they were all really,
They were
mind-blowing
amazing, yeah.
covers. And I think he's doing his best work on this book, so I couldn't be happier.
So, how, like, with the release of Todd, were you impressed on how well it sold?
It sold out at the distributor level in one day, which was huge for us. And then Image decided, let's do a second printing. So MK's working on the cover, so a new cover for the second printing of issue 1, which is great. And the final order cutoff for the second printing for retailers to order it is next Monday, the 28th, I believe, of January.
Yes,
Is that next
yes.
Monday? And then, so we couldn't be happier with that, and we feel like, you want to sell out, but you want there to be product available for people to buy. So, that's it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. So when we couldn't be happier that they decided, let's go back, and do a second printing of issue 1. And issue 2 comes out February 13th. And we also want to encourage people to interact with Todd. Todd has his own Facebook page, Todd The Ugliest Kid On Earth, on Facebook. He has his own Twitter feed, at Todd The Ugliest. And people can contact us directly through Facebook as well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Ken, for coming down and doing this interview with me.
Absolutely. Great to be on Slice of Sci-Fi.
Of course, of course. And remember to pick up Todd the Ugliest Kid on Earth at any local comic book store.